What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Martian and Ozzy podcast. I am the Martian, joined by my co-host, as always, Ozzy. This week, we're going to be talking about the UFC 287 pay-per-view going down, the rematch between Alex Pereira and Israel Adesanya. Some might call it the fourth fight between them, and the co-main Gilbert Burns versus Jorge Masvidal. Pretty good pay-per-view card. 13 fights on this one, and I'm joined by my man Ozzy. How we doing this week, my man?
Hey, hey, excellent. Love a great time of year here. We just came off a very hot March Madness, right? Nice NCAA tournament opening day, and nice UFC pay-per-view right here while the weather's getting good. Back in Miami, Florida, with a card that has a little bit of punch, a lot of intriguing matchups. I feel not one that I think it has a ton of places you could maybe plant your flag in hardcore, in my opinion. But definitely some interesting matchups, some stuff that will move plenty of divisions forward. And then we got another good event next week as well. So definitely looking forward to these next few.
Yeah, and your Yankees, winning 2 out of 3 over the Phillies too. That's another
Yeah,
bonus.
we did dominate. Great pitching performance by my Yanks, and I'm feeling good. We just need all our guys to be healthy, pitching staff. But I got some futures on the Yanks. Sure.
And we did not have any UFC last week. Going back 2 weeks, recap. Track bets for me, slight loss, minus 1.58 units. But who gives a fuck about that? We hit the plus 2,500 on Nate Landwehr. Between the on Landwehr and the sub 2 plus 2,500, that was the biggest win I've ever had on a single fight. And hopefully some of you guys were able to tail that shit as well.
Losing on Macy Barber on Andrea Lee was just brutal.
Yeah.
That was just devastating. It was
Yeah.
just
Don't know what happened there. Truthfully, don't.
I you like I said, I think the bets I had, I think I lost 3 split decisions, right?
Mm.
So obviously the Marlon Vera one, was a split decision. I'm keeping that one in there. But the you just want to be able to come out ahead. If you're, coming out ahead on split decisions, like all of them were plus money, right? Andrea Lee, the Preston Parsons, or it was even money, I guess. Preston Parsons, the Daria fight. So if we're betting on plus money sides and they're going to split decisions, even as sketchy as the Marlon Vera one is, like we know, right? It's Texas, all these kinds of things. Like we're gonna come out ahead, but that was us that week definitely left a bad taste in my mouth for sure.
Yeah, I got lucky on winning Derive, I feel, then unlucky on Lee. I
I
mean,
feel like the Riev though was definitely a great bet. Like you're like,
yeah,
even with
that's
him
fair.
not being able to not pressing the takedowns, like it was even on the feet. Like Chitty had his preferred fight for a lot of that, and he couldn't win.
I agree. Yeah, I
It
mean,
was good. I was not comfortable with the decision. Don't get me wrong, but
I thought Parsons honestly definitely deserved that. I
uh,
mean, I understand how he lost it, but I mean, this shit was so long ago, though. Let's not dredge up any more bad feelings.
but we could have easily gotten the Parson and Andre Lee one, and
And we
it's
would
a
have been up big.
fantastic.
We would have been up.
It's a
Yeah.
great night, but
Yeah, we would have been
it
up
is what it is.
astronomically, if those 2 came forward. I did look through this though, like looking at the past few Florida events, looking at the judging. I think it's pretty solid overall. There's been few split decisions, but I think like looking at the decisions from the past few events, I think the Florida judges are a lot more consistent than the Texas judges. So hopefully we'll have to worry about that a little less here. And let's get into these fights. 13 fights, kicking it off in the women's strawweight division. One of 3 women's fights on the card. Jacqueline Amora making a UFC debut. Sam Hughes coming on the other side. And the odds for this one are Jacqueline minus 260, Sam Hughes plus 220. So I have Sam Hughes here for a unit. And I just think that I like the UFC experience of Sam Hughes here, and I just think that Moram definitely has potential. She's a high level jiu-jitsu woman, and then she actually has a little bit of power in her hands as well. But I just feel the women that she's fighting are really really bad, and she's running through them with such little resistance, and she's never been out of round one. So to me, I think Sam Hughes is the best striker she's fought. I think Sam Hughes is the best defensive grappler she's fought, and she's clearly the most experienced woman she's fought ever as well. So, Amora might be super legit, might run through Sam Hughes here, but I'll be willing to play the plus 225 price to see if Jacqueline is legit. So.
Uh, yeah. So Jacqueline, very, very, in my opinion, high level prospect coming in here into the MMA game. The jujitsu, in my opinion, from my eyes, just looks a little bit more into the style that you would kind of want to see the women's game gravitate towards in terms of how to implement the grappling game, the opportunities you're looking for, the places she's looking to control, and just spend time in very advantageous positions. I think the best thing a grappler can do is, bypass guard, bypass put themselves in positions like top, side control mount, back mount, even top half guard, places where you're going to be able to quickly get to a finish if your partner, makes a mistake. And I think she does a lot of those things. Obviously, she's not that tested overall, but she's been training at ATT for a while now. I do think this girl is pretty serious. She was over a little more north in like South Carolina, I think, and then moved down to Florida to start training with those girls full time, maybe like a year ago or 2 years ago. Hughes is much more proven, tested. She's fought a lot of prospects. They've given her a lot of girls that they didn't think she would beat, and she's kind of come out, more or less, 500, whatever it may be. But the fights that she's won is when she's had a grappling advantage, and I don't think that's gonna be the case here. And usually, I don't really worry about these girls tiring out too much, in the female division. So I think Jacqueline eventually they're gonna come in, start grappling, gonna slip around to Sam Hughes' back, and choke her out.
Yeah, they have a more decision at a bigger price than Hughes. They have her plus 300 by decision while Hughes is plus 240. That's strange. I mean, I guess they just think that Jacqueline's going to gas out if it gets out of round one. But, um, I think that might be an interesting way to play Jacqueline by decision.
The under here is uh this like I think there should be some action in this fight.
I don't
Because
like that.
Hughes, like I was before we started here, I was talking to Martian. Is in my opinion, Hughes, she's like what I say. She's like not a neutralizer. She has to fight you wherever you want to take the fight. She'll go into it and she'll scrap. But she doesn't really control where the fights go. So she's either gonna be surviving some stuff that goes on and then putting in offense, or going blow for blow or something. But I think there's gonna be action in this fight.
Perennial underdog, this woman. Been an underdog in all 7 of her UFC fights, and she's just used to this role.
Might be the
Also,
only person that's ever been the case for.
yeah, and
So
safe side you, Forest
so
MMA has been down astronomically lately. They really need a comeback win. Um, next fight,
enough about that one. Yeah.
featherweight division, Steve Garcia, taking on Shalinian, and the odds for this one are Shalinian minus 181, Garcia plus 156. What are you thinking about this one?
This is another somewhat intriguing style matchup, and on the handicapping side of things because, Garcia, he's bullied a lot of people over the course of his career. He used to be a 135er, would consistently miss weight, but he even fought like Joe Warren, I think, in Bellator. So he did that, moved up to 145, consistently missed weight, moved up to 155. I think he might even miss weight at that weight before. Now he's at 145. I don't think that he's gonna knock out Nurmagomedov. I think Nurmagomedov kind of he keeps his hands up. He's kind of his conditioning is obviously pretty good. He is a strong guy as well, so I think he should be able to, if he even does get stunned or Steve Garcia does like doing a lot of like dirty boxing, come in tight, start throwing knees, elbows. He's a nasty dude, overall. But I think that Nurmagomedov does have the grappling advantage. I do think eventually this will go to the clinch. Nurmagomedov maybe gets a takedown or two in here. I think there's going to be a very active fight. I can see it being close. I can see why people are taking some of Steve Garcia at the plus money. But the guy's kind of just a guy that doesn't always show up for 15 minutes, has mental lapses. You saw him get body triangle by Luis Pena super easily, misses weight consistently. Not a guy, I kind of want to back even at underdog money. So, I would lean towards Nurmagomedov to win this fight. But probably one overall going to be a pass for me.
Very brave of you to even try to pronouncing that last name. I'm just
Huh.
going with Shalinian here.
Millennium.
This guy's had like so many different names in his UFC career. Um, but I just thought I understand, having an inclination to bet the underdog here. But I couldn't get myself to do it. I just think that Garcia, whenever he's on the feet, he could have success here. I think that's probably his biggest potential for success, is landing that straight left hand on Shalinian. But the guy just gets so wild, and he has like no composure in there when he's striking. I mean, he gets off balance, his feet are all over the place, and Shalinian has pretty good wrestling. And I just think that with how wild Garcia is, he's going to be putting himself out of position, and he's going to give himself up to be taken down. Shalinian can seem to hit takedowns throughout the full 3 rounds of the fight as well. I think he had a little bit of cardio lapses in the TJ Brown fight, but was able to power through it and dig deep to get that round 3. Um, and I just think that even if Garcia throws up a little sub off his back, maybe gets a sweep, I think eventually Shalinian will still get the better of the exchanges here. And I can't really shake that image in my head of Garcia getting controlled for long stretches by Luis Pena, just getting rode out from half guard, the back take. Shalinian is capable of taking backs. And last point I'll say is Garcia. Ozzy was talking about his weight cutting troubles, bouncing through all these weight classes. He hasn't fought a whole lot of punchers. He did face a puncher in Mahashate at 155. He got slept badly, but at 145, he's had a lot of forgiving matchups. And, we can't forget that this guy's chin is wide open in the air. He doesn't have good durability, and Shalini could clip him on the feet. So I think Shalini could KO him on the feet. He has a clear wrestling path here. And I just think that that will mean that the price is pretty accurate with the money lines here. So no bets on that one for me. Um, Next fight, Trey Ogden taking on Ignacio Bahamondes, 160-pound catchweight fight here. Ogden was supposed to fight a few weeks ago. That fight got scrapped. Ignacio was supposed to fight Nicholas Mota. That fight got scrapped. So they matched these two guys up, and you got Ignacio as a big favorite, minus 340. Trey Ogden plus 280. So this pretty clear, striker versus grappler matchup. Ogden probably will not have a chance to win the fight if it stays on the feet, and he's going to be looking to get this fight on the floor. The guy, does watch tape and seems like a pretty intelligent fighter, so I think he will come in with a wrestling game plan. And Bahamondes' takedown defense, it seems pretty good, but it really hasn't been tested by like a lot of good grapplers. And off his back, again, a bit of a question mark. I think we could probably point to some of his old fights and say that he is not good off of his back, but he also hasn't been there in the past several years at all. So he could have good get ups off his back, or he could be just a fish off his back. There's a big spectrum of where this could be. So obviously, I don't think you could be laying juice or parlaying even Bahamondes at this price. I think if you're looking to take him, you'd be wanting to take KO at plus 200. He's not like a massive puncher, but if Ogden can't get this fight on the floor, I mean, he's going to get lit up with strikes all night long. So, I think Bahamondes should win, should probably knock him out. Maybe look to play like a 2-3 KO for Baha here. Um, One of the sickest names in the UFC too, Ignacio Bahamondes. Any thoughts on this fight?
No, I love Ignacio Bahamondes. Like you said, amazing name. I love when people like on like different countries, in Latin America, like his get to shine as well. But yeah, I think so. Overall, I kind of like this fight to finish. Just because the what you were mentioning about Bahamondes, ground game side of things, definitely valid. Um, you kind of see, I watched him. I think it was against Preston Parsons, get taken down early in his career. Get submitted there within was that Preston Parsons? Yes, with an armbar. Easy footage to see that. But he did look a lot better. I do feel in that Zhurong fight, and I think that's why this line has crept up a bit because Trey Ogden just one dimensional guy overall. He does have some good grappling into black jiu-jitsu, legitimate, goes for a lot of guillotines, um, has competed a few times as well. But on the feet, you saw him be scared of like Jordan Levitt's, like, little leg kicks. Bahamondes is huge. They're giving him a 5 pound, now weight, buffer, right? Because Ogden, had to make weight like 2 weeks ago. But that's freaking good for Bahamondes too. This guy's mad. This guy should be like 170 if he ate and drank water. He'd be like 185. But yes, I like this. Doesn't go the distance. Even maybe like it's kind of sneaky that Bahamondes is plus 750 submission and Trey Ogden's plus 700 by submission. So I kind of maybe like ends by submission and the under because I just feel like Trey Ogden, if you could get guillotined by what's his name, Thomas Gifford, you can get guillotined by Bahamondes.
Yeah, that's not a bad point. And, he's also, I mean, 25, he's coming off of a year and 2 months layoff. I mean, you could clearly see that Bahamondes is making big improvements fight to fight over the past few years, and he's probably just gonna continue to level up off that year layoff. So,
Trey Ogden is not winning a decision here.
no,
It's not
well,
gonna
unless
happen.
he completely just keeps him on the floor for long periods of time. It's
That would be
possible, but
shocking.
unlikely.
That
Um,
would mean that he definitely would have felt good off of that 5 extra pounds. But we'll see. But interesting style matchup.
he did cut weight too, for a few weeks ago, so he's probably the one with the little bit of a
He's
disadvantage
a
there.
big 155er. He's not small.
Next fight, women's strawweight division, Cynthia Calvillo, Lupi Godinez. This fight is favored with Lupi minus 300, Calvillo plus 250. Man,
So
this
we
one's
yeah.
a tough one to analyze.
Yeah. Yeah, so obviously you were burned real bad, last time when we spoke about my girl, Lupi Godinez. I apologize for her hurting you. I did not join in. I was only hurt emotionally by that loss, not financially, which is always a good thing, end it quickly and don't get too much your finances tied up, guys. Always a good thing to remember to do. But the overall Cindy Calvillo, she's at 115 now again, which obviously was not good for her in the past. Like she would couldn't make weight. Like I don't know what was going on with her. But like the reason that she used to beat some of these other girls before was because like she had a pace of grappling that would like, overwhelm girls. But other than that, if that didn't happen, she was never really that good, in my opinion. I think against Jessica I almost died making 125. Like she was, convulsing. I think you might remember that, right, Martian? She was like consistently shaking. Like I thought she was gonna have a seizure, and then she had to fight freaking Calvillo the next day. So that didn't go good for her. And I just feel like Loopy, when she does get the fight to the ground, I think she does have pretty solid control. I just think that maybe some sneaky submission ability might be there for Cynthia Calvillo, but I think this is a good bounce back for Loopy style wise. She needs to stay away from maybe like some tricky submissions that Cynthia could do early, but Cynthia looked trash in that last fight that she had. So like there's zero confidence that I think that she's gonna be able to hang with Loopy for more than maybe a few minutes around maybe. Because at 115, like I just don't think like look at her. She fought her last fight was in California, was in that Diaz not Diaz Cruz Vera fight. She weighed in her fight night weight that day was 136, dude. She's a bit this girl be eating. So, um,
But that was at 125.
I no, yeah, but I'm saying like it's not easy for these girls at 35 to be is go who do you know goes down to 115, dude? It doesn't happen. Who the hell does that?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. So
Who
from
does
okay,
that?
so she's gonna be cutting basically 20 pounds here,
I mean,
instead of 10.
it's just like why would I just don't think that she's gonna be in this
When was the
fight
last
at
time she even
115.
fought at 115? It was
Long time ago, dude.
well, she fought Marina Rodriguez and she missed weight by 5 pounds.
Yeah, she missed weight against Poliana Botello as well.
So she'd be
Uh,
struggling to make
Casey,
115,
the Casey fight she made 116.
which was
Other
4 years ago. Yeah.
yeah, dude.
So I mean, looking at it's a women's MMA fight. One woman is 300, so you can immediately disqualify her from considering betting. And then plus 250 on Calvillo. I mean, Calvillo just doesn't interest me in any capacity as an MMA fighter. Like I have no faith
You don't have a
in
crush
her
on her?
at all. No, no, she's no. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't see any bets. I mean, maybe look like a method of victory for Godinez, like maybe Godinez sub at 6-1. But I mean, Calvillo,
I don't
is
think
the
so,
one
dude.
the one thing she does is grappling. So
Her submission ability looked not that good against the little jacked little girl.
yeah, I don't know.
But
I'd
I
say
think
no.
the thing here would be Godinez just wearing her out, like on like a kind of like a wrestling match, in like those wrestling matches when then you're like you're not even shooting on the guy anymore. Like you're like snapping him down and like running and then going behind him for 2 points. Like that's what I think a finish here would be. But Godinez inside distance, 350. The
Godinez
worst.
round 3.
I mean, this girl Jessica, Jessica put her down with like a little body shot at 125. Not big of a shot, or no, or she just tapped out. Like she might be soft.
Andrade, Jessica Andrade,
Oh
not
yeah,
Jessica
Jessica
Eye.
Andrade. No, Jessica Andrade. Yeah, excuse me. But yeah, she might be a
N
little soft to the body, dude.
Yeah, and with the weight cut, so,
And
yeah,
was
maybe
it her?
Godinez late rounds, props
Didn't
2,
she
3
get her calf fucked up too bad by Nina? Like
Nunes
she might be on that Marlon Vera track or Marlon Moraes track, dude.
or that Rob Font track. Yeah, I, uh, I admit to you guys, sorry, I did not rewatch Cynthia Calvillo versus Nina Nunes preparing for this fight, or for this
Uh,
card,
I know what I'm talking about. Nina hit her with some good calf kicks. She
well,
was
we
hurt.
have to move on reluctantly, Ozzy, because we have a banger in the next fight. Carl Williams versus Chase Sherman, one of Ozzy's favorite all-time
Ooh,
fighters.
he's back!
Another
Mama,
perennial
he's
underdog,
back!
Chase Sherman, plus
Sign the
310.
check, Dana.
Carl Williams minus 410, Sherman plus 310. Carl Williams coming in on here on complete short notice off the couch, and he's still
They
an
like
easy minus.
Like Chase Sherman? Hell yeah. Sign me up.
They're like,
Sign
"Yeah,
up for me.
hey Carl, we have a fight." And he's like, "No, not yet. I'm not ready for it." They're like, wait till you hear the opponent. It's Chase Sherman." He goes, "Oh, okay. You just had
I'm
to say
ready.
that."
I'm fucking ready. He's like, you ever see, like TurboTax or whatever, like, you ever see like those inflatable guys that like, that you pump air in them and like your arms
Yeah,
start
yeah.
flapping. That's how Carl William, like the Holy Spirit went into his fucking body when he heard it
Yeah.
was Chase
Like a
Sherman,
jolt.
bro. But go ahead,
Yeah.
sorry.
So I mean, it just seems like how's Williams gonna win? Is he gonna finish him or is he gonna decision him? This guy seems like a total lay and pray, completely content to lay and pray. If you remember Carl Williams' last fight, he actually like flash dropped Bresky at one point and then just went right back to just laying on him and doing nothing. And Bresky looked extremely tired 3 minutes into that fight. And Williams did not even consider finishing him. So I don't know. I think that everything points to Williams just not having any interest in finishing these fights, and that probably means this one's gonna, stretch to a decision. It'll probably be a Carl Williams decision. That's plus 130. If you're feeling like gambling on the fight, that seems like a little bit of a butt clenching bet, but it should probably hit, right? What are you thinking?
Dude, I'm laughing. Like I literally have tears in my eyes. Like I had to mute myself there while you were talking because I'm just thinking like the fact that like Chase Sherman's back, he's in the 305. He moved down to Florida, right? They got him the 305. I like that little clip that he had on like one of the embeddeds or the countdown or whatever if it was. Like he was doing some stupid shit, and it was perfect, dude. But how did they match this fight up? This is a crazy fight to match up. Like I guess like they really want to get Sherman paid. You know what I mean? Like where was this energy for Michael Chiesa? Right? Like, what the fuck? Like, they're like,
They
no,
don't like their own analyst. Like
yo, what the
Michael
hell is going on?
Chiesa, Anthony Smith, no
Hey,
favors are
Smith,
being dealt.
no favors to these fucks. They must pay them good behind the desk. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I think here this fight, I mean, I feel that Carl is just gonna take this dude down so easily. So I do think that pound stoppage is super live here. Like that's the thing. I don't think that Carl Williams has enough control to any point get a submission on Chase, maybe like a rear naked choke, but it would come after heavy strikes, heavy. But there's no way that I want to bet plus 115 for him to finish a fight. Like that's crazy. So
Yeah.
this fight, smoke break for
Yeah,
me.
maybe. I don't know. There probably won't even be the same game parlays for
Yeah.
this fight because
This
it's a
fight,
prelim.
this fight is funny as fuck, dude. How long
Yeah,
is
the one
Chase
thing
Sherman
about
gonna
his
be in the
finishing
UFC, bro?
another like bad point for Carl finishing is he is taking this fight on short notice, so he's probably going to be cognizant of like I need to conserve my energy, so he's probably going to be looking to do as little as possible on his way to a win here. And we got robbed of Chase Sherman versus fucking
That was brutal. Yeah, that was brutal.
Chris
Chris
Barnett, bro.
Barnett.
That would have been peak pay per view entertainment.
Yeah, whoever matched those two up, great job. I love it.
Speaking of peak pay-per-view entertainment, next fight, middleweight division, the best division in the UFC. Gerald Meerschaert taking on Joe Pyfer, B Joe Pyfer versus GM3. And then we have the odds for this one: Pyfer minus 190, Meerschaert plus 165. Um, think it's your turn to talk about this one first.
Yes, interesting fight. Yeah, so this fight here, I've been a big supporter of Joe Pyfer all the time. All his fights, I've been a supporter. Ozzy Diaz fight supporter, and I think he's got talent. And obviously, the guy's still only 26, but this is a stern. The guy has what, like 10 fights, 12 fights. GM3, like this dude. I mean, grizzled vet. The guy just loves to fight. He's kind of like a modern day, I guess, like Jeremy Horn, but like with like skills and like just like super modern. But like that's how I think of it. Like a dude's always looking to throw down, great submission game. And he's made a big move to Killcliff FC, so he's working down there. I think he's bringing a lot of the great attributes and style that he's used and worked on. With Henry or not Henry Hook, Duke Rufus, and like his all the experience that GM3 has. And I think he's gonna maybe rack up some wins here coming out of mixing it in with Hoof. But this is a tough test here against, or a tough fight for him as well. Obviously, he is an underdog against Pyfer because Pyfer, he's got some power. He saves meat and potatoes, in my opinion, on the feet. He's kind of, he has kind of like a singular goal. A lot of times before he's looking to land, very often. And I think that works well for him. And then in the grappling sense, I do think he's continuing to improve. I do think he's got a good baseline. This is a guy that's been training since he was kind of like a kid, more or less. But there is definitely some scenarios GM3 could put him in here that I could see him getting finished. But overall, I do like Pyfer's power. I do think that he has maybe a little bit better wrestling when fresh. But trusting him to make the right decisions for 15 minutes against a guy like Meerschaert, if he's not finding a kill switch, which I'm not sure if he is not something I want to do at minus 200. But I do think I kind of maybe like the over here, maybe a little tentative at first. Southpaw versus Orthodox, and Pyfer being a more of a power based puncher, maybe measure himself a little bit. So I like the over 1.5 overall.
Yeah, so I think Piper definitely has some promise, and he's definitely leveled up in his past few years. I followed him a lot throughout his regional scene, and you saw the moment when he switched from his old gym to his new gym with Marquez MMA, and which just started training with a lot more like fellow pro fighters. In the first half of his career, he just wasn't getting a lot of reps with other fighters at his level, and now that he is on a consistent basis, you can see him, clearly getting better. So this is his toughest test of his MMA career, though, by a pretty significant margin. I mean, the next best opponent is probably Dustin Stolfutz, and even though they did have a close fight, GM3 and him, GM3 just career wise, so much more accomplished. I mean, he has 4 times the amount of fights as Joe. He's been in the UFC a long time, and Gerald's not a good athlete, right? He's a bit slow. He can be hittable at times. He can be taken down. But the guy has actually had a pretty successful MMA and UFC career by just having incredible resilience and being a pretty skilled fighter in striking and grappling. It's just not really flashy. It doesn't really catch the eye because he is slow and unathletic. But he finds a way to win fights. He's crafty in there, and he has fought so many up and coming guys who are they're like, hey, there's some knockout artists knocking everybody out. They feed him to GM3, and sometimes they pass that test, sometimes they don't. And we've seen fighters a lot more promising than Joe Pyfer fail that GM3 test. Most recently, Mahmoud Muradov, was what 23-1 or something, minus 700 favorite, and got blown out of the water by GM3. And something happened in that fight that is something that could happen here. It is that Muradov hurt him early, and GM3 just found a way to survive. He clung on, he clinched up, he waited, and he came back like he always does. That's the thing about GM3 is we've seen him have adversity in his fights, and he has battled back from that like literally dozens of times. While Joe Pyfer really hasn't done that. He has won fights where he has, won the fight the entire time and then finished the guy. He looked good the entire fight. That's good in its own right. But at the UFC, when you start meeting higher level guys, you want to be able to see guys who are able to battle back from some adversity and then get the fight, win the fight as it goes on. A recent fight that's an example of that is Marc-Andre Barrieu versus Marquez. You saw MAB take some shit early, but he was never really in that much danger because he's just so comfortable in, competitive fights. And when the second round hit, it was all MAB. And I think a similar story could happen here where Gerald's, certainly going to be in some danger round one. Obviously, when Piper has his most power, he could get clipped, he could get knocked out here, and Piper could pass that litmus test. But if this gets into the second round, I just think it's going to be the toughest test of Piper's career by a tall margin. And the times we've seen Piper go into round two, round three, they've been against lower level fighters, and his cardio has failed him once. His one loss against Patti, he totally gassed out and got choked out in that fight. So, uh, with his style as well, with him maybe looking to shoot takedowns as like that safety layer, if Piper starts getting tired and he starts shooting a little lazy takedowns on GM3, his neck is going to be in all sorts of trouble. He can get, Darce, Anaconda, guillotined, he could get triangled, he could get, armbarred. I mean, GM3 can just attack subs from so many different angles that I think this fight really favors him outside of the first round. So I expect GM3 to, be risk adverse early on, use that big cage, circle a lot, use that southpaw body kick of his to maintain some distance on the feet and just look to get Piper, unfamiliar in there. And to Ozzy's point about the over, Piper was taking his time versus Amidovsky, very patient in there, just looking for the right shot. He eventually found it. But if that same approach happens here, we could see this fight sail over 1.5 rounds. So I've got a lot of thoughts here. I have, pretty good confidence in GM3 here. I understand, Piper being a slight favorite, maybe minus 130, but I definitely can't go past minus 150 for Piper. So I've got a bet on GM3. Obviously, very aware that he could get slept early here, but I think I'll take my man to withstand the early storm and come back late to get a second or third round sub here. That I'm sure that's a very juicy price on FanDuel as well. GM3K or sub 2-3. Let me pull that bitch up here before we move on. Haven't looked at the props enough for this card this week, but it's only plus 650. That's not that good. But we'll be moving along here to the women's strawweight division. Michelle Waterson, Luana Pinheiro for the third and final women's fight on the card. Pinheiro is the favorite at minus 180, I believe. Oh no, minus 162, plus 142 for Michelle Waterson. Going back and rewatching Pinheiro, I mean, she's pretty choppy, man. I mean, on the feet, she doesn't do a whole lot. She can explode with a little combination every now and then. But when these two women are just kind of staring at each other at distance, I do expect Michelle to be landing that sidekick of hers all day and just doing that
Ooh,
typical
you
just
think?
doing that just doing that typical karate shit she always does. And she'll look good for moments. You'll think, "Oh, man, Waterson's doing good. This is going good for her." And then eventually, she'll get a kick caught, she'll slip, she'll get thrown, a head and arm throw will ensue. I guarantee you guys, I fucking guarantee you there will be head and arm throws in this fight. I would set the line at honestly minus 900. So I think Michelle will be doing well at periods of time, just like she was in her last fight. And then eventually she, dives into a guillotine against Lemos. So I don't think Pinheiro has really impressed me at all in her MMA career yet. But I think, her ability to just get like a random takedown at any moment will probably get her, get two takedowns here, get Waterson on the ground, and probably win her the fight. But I don't know, man. I don't think there's any bets to be made on this fight. This is terrible.
Yeah, you know what? was I've been not thinking about this fight all that much. I did look at, I've watched a lot of Pinheiro's fights live. I think I missed a little bit of the Waterson one, the last one. So I had to watch her a little bit again. And actually, now I'm kind of even like internalizing a little bit more. And I kind of lean just more towards the Waterson side, just like the experience of, like I said, was telling you, yeah, Pinheiro, she's explosive. She's got like those throws and stuff like that, that are very sudden and effective. But like, she doesn't know. That's the thing. She doesn't know how to win like the little spots, like the in betweens, like the clinch work. Maybe when like you're throwing knees or whatever it is, like. the being crafty and kind of like looking where to when to score and when to use your energy. And Michelle, she's looking. I mean, she always looks to come in really good shape, honestly. So I think that she, when she goes into training camp, she takes it seriously, and she usually does overperform, in my opinion. And Luana is a little sketchy of a girl, so I'm gonna make her prove it to me maybe one more time. And I think I'm gonna try to take a little of this Michelle money line because I do think it might slim down a little bit more. But we'll see. Not a play with a lot of conviction, but I think this might close a little bit lower.
Michelle getting up there in age though, 37 for our woman.
She is
And,
old.
don't forget Luana Pinheiro, boyfriend or, girlfriend of, Mateus Nicolau, who, may or may not be fighting, soon up here and
Let's
coming.
move on.
Th This will be, another, middleweight fight next, but not one that I endorse, as an entertaining one. Kelvin Gastelum versus Chris Curtis. The line for this one, has been going back and forth. Gastelum -135, Chris Curtis 115. This was, I think Curtis was favored for a week or two. It was picking for a while. Now the market seems to be liking Gastelum. What do you think about the line movement here?
Any middleweight fight is alright with me. And this one is a middleweight fight, so it's alright with me. So yeah, one is one I didn't really see his matchup coming just because I usually think that Calvin's just never gonna fight. He's always pulling out of fights. And I really never been a Calvin guy. I never really backed him too much in many of his fights. Uh I think I have faded him even in the Jacare fight. I think that's the only time I remember losing on him. And or I don't whatever, it doesn't matter. Um but here I kind of like Chris Curtis. And the reason I like Chris Curtis a little bit is one, obviously always the activity. The activity of Chris Curtis, I think when he's in line and in tune, he's a tough out at the very worst. And can connect and land big on the best guys in the division at his best. And I just think that I'm more likely to get Chris Curtis's best here in in a fight here against Kelvin than I am Kelvin. Like Kelvin is always hurt. He's moved over to Arizona, but he still has got these weight problems. Like you see any of the videos that Kelvin puts out, and like it's like a video, right? So it's like they're just recording the day to day. And man, his coaches are terrified about the weight cut for Kelvin Gastelum. It's the only thing they talk about. And it's clear, man. This guy, he's saying he's doing all these kinds of Kelvin's lazy, dude. You don't become not lazy as a professional athlete when you're 31 years old, bro. Like it just doesn't happen. So, I think to get into the matchup wise of it, Kelvin his wrestling has never been overwhelming. I do think he used it well against Ian Heinisch, but other than that, he's never really used it too effectively against many guys here at middleweight. Like literally ever. Chris Curtis has great takedown defense. So the people telling me that Chris Curtis is gonna get taken, and then what's gonna happen? Like Kelvin's gonna like submit him. Like I don't really see it happening. So I feel Chris Curtis, he'll be able to maybe in the clinch get to neutral positions, fight his way out of them, when he has to. And then when I think he needs to pick up the pace, I think he'll be able to. And then we'll see who could take whose punches a bit better. But I do like the plus money on Chris Curtis here.
Yeah, I don't have much of an opinion on this fight, except for I wouldn't lay juice on either guy. Both these guys are historically known for being low volume fighters, not really throwing a whole lot of strikes. Uh, that's been the case of both these guys' entire career. And if these guys stay on the feet with one another, we might be seeing them, land 10, 12, 15 strikes a round. These rounds are going to be really close. Uh, and Kelvin having the wrestling upside is probably enough for me to side with him here. If anybody is hitting takedowns here, it's going to be Kelvin. And, we did see him, go to that wrestling and use it to win effectively against Ian Heinisch. Heinisch, a guy who had really good scrambling and takedown ability just a few fights ago. And then Kelvin was able to ground him and keep him down, more than anybody else has in his career. So Kelvin's offensive wrestling is actually pretty legit when he can go to it. But Chris Curtis's takedown defense is also steadily improving as well, as we've seen in some fights. So I just think that Kelvin has more potential to win this one clearly. We also can't forget that Chris Curtis was, going toe to toe, getting jabbed by Rodolfo Vieira just a fight or two ago, and I just think Chris he's always like losing on the feet until he lands a big punch and changes everything. And I think that he could lose this fight on the feet, and he could certainly lose it on the ground with that wrestling disadvantage to him. So I think Kelvin is actually the deserved slight favorite here. But I don't know, man. Betting on money line in this fight seems really greasy to me. GTD, the market is sharp on this one, man, in the minus 200 range. I could see this one going to split. I could see if it's plus 400 to go to split, that could be a good bet on this one just 'cause, historically, Kelvin fights do go to split. Um, that's enough about that one. Last fight or actually, no, that was the last prelim. We are now in the main card, 5-fight main card. First fight in the bantamweight division, Raul Rosas Jr. taking on Christian Rodriguez. Rosas Jr., the favorite, minus 225, Rodriguez plus 190. Raul, obviously, the young phenom, the youngest fighter in UFC history, looks like a solid grappler. Um, but obviously his striking doesn't look too good. He did have some sloppy moments in that Mando Gutierrez fight where he lost position and got overzealous. And he definitely proved that he's. I was kind of joking about it. Obviously, him being a phenom, he's no prodigy on the mat, right? I mean, the guy is very good for his age. He can wrestle and he can mix in his top game pretty well. But I mean, his top game is nothing to write home about. I would say it's definitely above average, but it's nowhere near, I would say, a high level yet. So, Rodriguez, though, is not a good
You're
wrestler.
sure?
We
You're
saw
sure
him.
about that?
Yeah, I
Okay.
am. I'm positive. I mean, do you remember the Mando Gutierrez fight when he fell off the
I
back
do.
take three separate times?
I
Okay,
do remember when the
I remember that
17-year-old
vividly.
when the I remember when the 17-year-old fell off the guy's back. Yeah.
Well, we're not talking about 17-year-olds. We're talking about if it's high level or not, and it's not. Um, so Rodriguez, though, uh, his takedown defense is bad. He's not a good wrestler, but he is good at defending submissions. He's good off his back. I mean, to me, this fight seems fairly clear is that Rodriguez was able to go on short notice versus JSP, who's a better wrestler, a better grappler, who's bigger, and just a better fighter than Raul Rosas. And he was able to survive submission attempt after submission attempt and make it to a decision in that fight. So to me, I don't think Rosas is going to submit him. To me, it doesn't seem logical that Rosas is going to be able to do that. I think Rosas probably has better jujitsu than JSP, but JSP is a better wrestler. He is so much more physical. He's so much bigger, and so much deeper in his MMA career that if JSP couldn't do it, I don't see a reason for Rosas to do it. So I think this fight should get extended. It should see probably the full 3 rounds. Um, but man, it's gonna be really interesting. I think that Rosas will get takedowns early. He will win round one, and you're gonna get Rodriguez at a better live price. So, I'm interested in Rodriguez from a dog perspective, but I'm just quite certain that he's gonna be a bigger underdog live. I don't think he's stopping the early takedowns. Josh Weems was able to take him down a few times. Had side control on him briefly. So I think Rosas will take him down. We'll probably put him in some bad spots in round one. And then let's see how it's going. If Rodriguez is showing good signs of defense, then maybe look to live bet Rodriguez in the later rounds. Because on the feet, Rodriguez is a good fighter. I think he's a good fighter everywhere at all phases of the fight. And it's a good test for Raul. It really is. I like the matchup. They're putting it on the main card. Obviously, they have high hopes for Rosas Jr. And with the recent merger, if this were WWE, Rosas would not lose yet. It doesn't make sense for Rosas to lose on this pay per view yet. So keep that in mind if you're into those narratives. But yeah, really good piece of matchmaking here. Last thing I'll say is I think I'm gonna bet for the fight to start round three. I think it will see the third round. What are you thinking?
Oh, 1 sec. My bad, guys. Yes. So main card opener fight here. And it's a great fight. How old is Christian? Christian is 24. Do you have that? Can you pull that up?
25.
25. Okay. Yeah. So Christian, super well rounded guy. Paul Felder's talked him up a lot. And guys, like if you ever maybe like 10 years ago or so ever maybe watched a UFC event then went to sleep, maybe smoked a little bit of weed, and went to sleep and dreamed, and we're like, what would a fight like if Anthony Pettis fought a Mexican luchador? What would happen? If you ever like dreamed that, maybe this is the fucking fight for you, because this is exactly what this fight is. Because Christian Rodriguez, I talk about he is a Pettis brother. He is a Sergio Pettis Anthony. He's a meme guy. He's well rounded, slippery as fuck, right? He gets out of these back takes, spins out of them. He's got little kind of quick those taekwondo hips. And then on the feet, he's got a good jab. He's got better boxing. I think he's a little bit more actually like Sergio Pettis, but he's got pretty good boxing, straight shots. And he's got a good pace to him, and goes to the clinch as well. But an issue I have with this fight, Martian, is that it's at 135. Christian struggled to get down to 135 in the past, and with the pace that Raul brings, like I thought it was an interesting soundbite. I think Raul was saying, "Oh, like I'm like 139 right now, blah blah blah." I don't know what the hell he was saying. You can barely understand what the fuck the kid's saying when he talks. But he was saying he's like 139, so they're saying he's gonna make 125 or whatever it is. But I hope he doesn't do that. But the takeaway I had is that, man, like I can see why at 135, even though maybe you, let's say, critique his technique and say, oh man, he's falling off the fucking guy's back. He's making up for it with with the fact that his Dance Dance Revolution fucking speed, Martian, is too fast for these guys to keep up with while he's like 18 years old now. And I think it might be a little bit too much for Christian Rodriguez, on Saturday night. But if not, I do think Christian Rodriguez, I think he's got a good future either way. And he could definitely meme this guy. Knees, flying knees, elbow, spinning back kicks. I want to say all the spinning strikes. So in case that he lands one of these, I could claim that I predicted it. So spinning back fist, spinning elbow, up elbow, or a submission of his own. So I'm interested in seeing how this fight plays out, though.
What do you think about Mando Gutierrez?
I
You
think
think
he's on the
he's
Ultimate Fighter. Well,
No, he's not. He got
oh,
scrapped.
he got
He
scrapped. Fuck.
Yeah,
Damn,
yeah.
you're following
I
his
don't think he made
career. You're on that guy's jock, huh?
Yeah. Um,
But Mando, bro,
yeah,
Mando, he fought my boy Mo Miller. Mando's solid, dude.
he he did?
Yeah, I think Mando fought Mo Miller.
Yeah, he
No,
did.
yeah, he fought
Yeah, he
Mo
did.
Miller.
Yeah, he lost.
It was a good fight.
Um,
You should watch it.
but Mando sucks.
He's not
He
that bad.
sucks.
He's not that bad.
I would say pretty bad. I don't know. I think what do you think about this fight going long though? Like starts round 3 over
I
two and
could
a half.
I could see why that is appealing. But I can also like, bro, Christian Rodriguez is a sniper. Like this guy's a finisher. You concur with you that he is not someone that's easily going to be submitted.
Yeah.
Fading the Raul Rosas, maybe you could find a way where you could get a no submission win by submission. I just do think that it's going to be tough to the Mando critique that you're saying. I understand what you're saying, Martian, but I just think that overall, positionally, though, he is very good. So I do think that, but I think that it's going to be hard to submit Christian Rodriguez.
Yeah, I'm gonna look and see if I can find what is not Rosas ITD if I can find that. Not ITD is
Yeah.
minus 165. Nah, that's not interesting.
Maybe you wait, check on that later in the week again. It might move in your favor. But I do think that it's going to be tough because what you also haven't seen with the kid is what is his history of submissions. They've been mostly rear naked chokes. I think maybe like one arm triangle. I don't know how many he only gonna have like 5 fights, so he
Several
just don't
armbars.
know. Oh, he's got a few arm bars. I just don't know what's in his bag. You know what I mean? Like, um,
Yeah. And I
I
mean
think this
Rodriguez
dude,
certainly
Christian
has
Rodriguez, he's slippery, man. This kid's slippery. He does those Anthony Pettis escapes. You know how Anthony Pettis, he's like a ghost when you put him in like a body triangle from the back. Charles Oliveira knows. Um, but yeah, it's tough. It's tough to keep this
he
guy
has
still.
had his back taken a fair amount, so I guess it wouldn't
He
it
does.
can't
Yeah.
completely shock me
But
if Rosas does sub him.
like I said, my biggest issue is the guy's, at 135. I don't know how he's in. But like he did move to fight ready. This is a real fight.
This is go this is
Martian Rodriguez
he's
is a
no
good
Jay Perrin.
prospect.
He's no Jay Perrin, that's for sure.
No, he's no Jay Perrin. He's a good prospect.
If you bet Jay Perrin, I think you have to just keep going on Christian here. Um,
Oh fuck! You know where I remember this kid from? Was watching this Emerald City thing because I'm looking up him on Tapology now. And went back to go watch because one of my friends, he was like, "Oh yeah, my match, whatever, blah blah blah." And I saw this kid against Gianni Grippo, and I was like, "Who the fuck is this kid? This Mexican looking, this weird looking dude." Oh, shit, I didn't know that was him.
Moving on to the welterweight division, Kevin Holland
Wow.
versus Santiago Ponzinibbio. We have this fight at Kevin Holland minus 230. Oh, wow. Pons got bet today, plus 195 for Ponzinibbio. Your turn to start this one off.
Man, I got too much to say about this fight. Ponzinibbio robbed me in that last fight when he knocked out my boy Morono. But I do think that his durability is obviously waning. Holland, the concern for me is he's coming back kind of quick after that beating that he took from Wonder Boy. He said his hands were so messed up and stuff like that. And if you know anything about like the history of guys, your hands, like Uriah Faber, a bunch of guys, when they hurt, they break it, then they come back. They're out for a while. Some guys come back early, some guys come back late. But either way, they still fuck up their hands all the time. Michael McDonald, another guy that actually fought Uriah Faber, I think, always had broken hands. So I don't like that. Obviously, if he breaks his hand, what's gonna happen again this time? Like, does they call the fight, whatever it is? So if he fucks around, like Ponzinibbio is not a guy that you should be playing around with because he's still throwing heat in the pocket, right? Obviously, you saw against Morono. He mixes up his attack, right? He throws to the body, he throws, a great jab to the head, leg kicks. He can even grapple a bit as well. Comes from a good camp. Can speak Spanish, right? So he's bilingual. So that means he's already has an advantage in the octagon. So I think it should be a good fight. But yeah, Holland, he's concerned with all this other stuff. I don't know what's going on, but it's not that great of a style matchup. I was looking forward for something else, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I had to just rewatch, Pons' last fight. I mean, I bet Morono KO there because I was like, oh, Pons' chin seems to be going. I know Morono doesn't hit hard, but then Morono, rocked him 3 times. I mean, Pons, delayed reaction, doing the chicken dance. I mean, his chin just seems, pretty much completely gone. And even though at one point in time, Santiago would probably, butcher Holland on the feet, I just think Holland's going to be, way too quick and probably powerful as well. I am concerned that Holland's coming off that KO loss. Got ate some massive shots there and never really went down. It was a corner stoppage, but to me, I just don't think that Santiago is going to KO him. Right? We just saw Kevin eat all these head kicks and all these crazy strikes. So I think that he can eat whatever comes at Pons' way. And then, so Pons isn't going to KO him. He's certainly not going to sub him. And then that means Pons is going to have to win rounds and win a decision here. But how is he going to win rounds when he seems to be getting hurt with, almost every shot that lands on him? So it just seems like a real tall task for Pons to get this one done. I think Holland should win. Never an advocate for laying Holland juice, but I understand him being 70% here. I really do. I could think that maybe it could be even a little higher. It could be 75. Because I just think Ponce has to win a decision, So I like this fight to end ITD. I just think that these two are going to clash. Pons is going to get rocked at some point, and Heaven Holland can finish the fight on the feet or on the floor. And I just think at some point Pons is going to get hurt and probably get finished here. And I like it better than just Holland ITD. You might as well just take the fight ITD. So that's enough about that one for me. It's minus 132 for fight ends ITD, by the way. Next fight, Bantamweight division, Rob Font versus Adrian Yanez. Great matchup here. Yanez minus 181, Font plus 156. Uh,
Banger alert!
so sort of a
Banger alert!
similar story to what I was talking about in the last fight. Font, definitely has some durability issues. Been dropped what 6, 7 times in his past 2 fights. Those are against all those, and they're against Marlon Vera. And we can't completely forget that he actually, I think outside of getting rocked in the Vera fight, he did look good in that fight. He had his normal arsenal of strikes, mixing it up with the leg kicks, body shots, targeting the head and the body with his punches. The guy is a fantastic offensive striker. He's kind of similar to Yanez in some senses, where they're both not, like super hard hitters. They just accumulate a ton of damage on you, hit you with so many strikes, and then they break you down in the later rounds. Um, but, Font, just, 2 years ago, he would have been favored in this fight. Now, after we see him, get hurt a lot, now he's, a little less than 40%. So, you can decide, is that justified? Is Rob Font's durability enough of a concern where this line is justified? Or do you think Rob Font's durability issues might be getting a little bit overblown here? That's really what the fight comes down to me. To me, I would lean with there being a little overblown just because predicting durability, man, it's hard to do. We see guys, oh, they get knocked out and they're thinking, oh, they're done, and then all of a sudden they come back and they rejuvenate. Or we think they're looking good lately, and then all of a sudden their chin, gives out of nowhere. So I'm not a big fan of predicting, chins or durability. I think you. From my perspective, I'm trying to analyze the fight, not really considering the chin issue from Rob. And I think skill wise, without the durability, I think it's a really really close fight, and it's very winnable for Font. I think he could have success on the feet here, and I think if anyone is having wrestling success, it will be Font. And he has mentioned in interviews this week that he's thinking about wrestling. I don't think Rob's going to come out and take this guy down in all 3 rounds and firmly out grapple him. But in rounds, both these guys are probably going to be hitting each other a lot. And if they're competitive rounds where they're both getting hit and Rob lands a takedown, that could be, the deciding factor to swing around his way. So I think that's just something he has in his back pocket, maybe mixing in a takedown. And, just skill for skill on the feet. I think these are going to be really good exchanges. Yanez should be a little quicker. Yanez is more durable. I understand Yanez being the favorite. I think I would say, minus 150, minus 170. That's about right. But, I would probably be interested in Rob if it obviously weren't for the chin issues. He probably will have success here for portions of the fight, and then he'll get wobbled with some shot eventually. So, maybe Rob's chin is just completely gone, and all this analysis is for nothing, and he gets blown out of the water here. But I think we'll actually, he took a year off too, guys. Don't forget that Aldo fight and that Vera fight; those were 4 months apart. That was a terrible decision by him and everyone around him. So he's taking a year off. Hopefully his chin has, come back a little bit, and hopefully he provides a good fight for Yanez and gives him a good test. Really, really good match making here.
Do you have a pick?
That's a good question. I'll pick
Have a bet?
no, no bet. That's no for sure. I'll pick Rob Font by decision, bro. I'll go with a little risky one here.
You'll pick him, but you will not bet the Rob Font by decision. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So interesting fight here. Um, I'll tell you right off. I've never been a Rob Font guy. The guy's just poking people. A lot of times, like I feel like he's just a very opportunistic, guy. They threw him Marlon Moraes. They threw him a bone. Dana White. He's got ties to Massachusetts, to Boston, right? So he threw him a bone, right? They're like, "How about I got you? I give you Marlon Moraes, guys. I'll hook you guys up." They're like, "Perfect. We'll knock that guy out." But then they then it's like Tony Soprano, but then they hit you with the Jose Aldo when you're fucking not looking, and then they got you with the Marlon Vera on the back end. So you never know. You sell your soul early, Martian. You see how they make you sell your soul early for that Marlon Moraes fight and the Cody one, and then you don't know what's even coming through the back door. But here against Yanez, I just feel that Rob, when he's blitzing you, like when stuff's not coming back at him, he's great. He's good. But he's been looking real sketchy when he gets hit. Like he's looking like he's like the lights are like flickering and he's like, what's going on? Like that's how he's going down. I've seen people like that before, like personally, like when they're like sparring and stuff like that. And when they realize they're maybe a little too old, or maybe their skills are deteriorating a little bit and they can't spar with the same level of people anymore, right? You got to go from fighting with the pro guys to maybe the amateur dudes, or the guys that, they talk about having amateur fights but never done it, and you kind of just your reaction time and you're just not reacting to getting hit well. Um, obviously in the Marlon Vera fight, he came in, off of weight and stuff like that. So it's a full camp. So I think there's gonna be opportunity here to get in live on Adrian Yanez because when Rob Font he is a unique style. But once you get your kind of timing, you kind of see what he's doing. He's a little predictable with a lot of the strikes that he throws. He tries to mix them up a lot, but I do think that people do get his timing, in order and then they're able to kind of fill in, in the gaps, and that's why he's getting dropped by Cheeto and these guys. And I think Adrian Yanez is a very very capable boxer, understands patterns coming at him, understands how to manipulate them, and then how to kind of fill in. That's how he started beating Randy Costa. He started just Randy Costa would throw, and he would start throwing either right after or right with him, and then he'd end the combinations with the stronger strikes. So I see that happening here, accumulation, and Adrian Yanez winning the fight. And I'm very confident. This is one where I feel very confident Adrian Yanez will win. I'm not advocating saying, "Hey, run to the window," but I do think he's gonna beat Rob Font.
Do you have any tickets on him?
I bet a little bit of Adrian Yanez when it dipped to minus 160, but it's not not a full thing. But like I said, I'll be looking to bet him live if it ever goes, if it dips too much because I think he's gonna hurt Rob Font. I'm very confident.
Yeah, I think minus 160 is a reasonable price. If anyone's winning this fight with like no resistance, it's like 90% chance it's Yanez, right? I don't.
I feel this is gonna be a tough fight because Rob Font, when he's coming forward, man, he's throwing a lot of good attacks, right? He's got a lot of good attacks to him. He mixes in the knees as well, some of the
And the
kicks, the
jab.
leg
I mean,
kicks.
we
Yeah,
saw
his
Yanez
jab, his
have
straight
issues
punches.
that's one thing I didn't mention is, that's very relevant is, Yanez struggled a lot with the jab of Randy Costa and, Rob Font throws a ton of jabs.
Yeah, but this dude Randy Costa, he's quick. I rewatched that fight actually yesterday. This dude Randy Costa's quick, man, and he was like tagging him because he was just so fast. Like Rob Font, he's an overrated hitter as well. Like it's gonna go well for him.
Yeah. I hope Rob can make it competitive. Co-main event time. Jorge Masvidal versus Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns is the favorite minus 450. Jorge Masvidal plus 350. A lot of people liking the big underdog price on Masvidal this week. I feel like he's obviously a fan favorite. Think that's got to be playing into it. But what are you thinking here? Any interest on the big dog price on Jorge?
I think maybe people they maybe want to bet it a little bit. They're maybe looking at a few of the fights and stuff like that, and thinking Gilbert, maybe is a guy that you can lead into a fight where there's more volatility to it. Because if he goes out and he does what he did, try to do to Neil Magny, I do think that he should win this fight very very often. And obviously George is a different kind of grappler. I do think that he does well in neutralizing some positions, staying mobile a bit, but he's lost some of his athleticism in the last few years for sure. No doubt about it. I don't think that's coming back either. But he's good at maybe like trying to keep his like how he did against Damian Maya, right? So a lot of sometimes he was denying the back, right? If he was keeping his back against the fence or against Colby, right, where he's the guy. So I could see it happening similar to what the problem Gilbert had with Wonder Boy where Wonder Boy was keeping his back to the fence, scooting up, things like that. Um, but otherwise than that, I just think that if Gilbert decides to grapple, Gilbert is a good enough grappler that there's no way you can like I don't know how much offense, like how much Masvidal can actually defend in terms of putting it in the place where he's winning as well, where he's landing strikes and stuff like that. Like Gilbert is probably one of the best now in terms of a jiu-jitsu guy that can wrestle, that can grapple, right? Someone like how Islam was like, man, if a guy's good at jiu-jitsu and he's good at has good wrestling, like this is a tough opponent. And Gilbert has that, and then he's been developing his striking. So I think it's gonna be a good fight. I think that Gilbert's just gonna win just because I'm trusting him to put in the grappling, go for the grappling, and it's just a different level with him on the ground. So I'm gonna pick Gilbert.
Just as we're recording this, I'm seeing a picture of Jorge. like taking pictures before. And I don't know if it's the lighting or the angle, but he looks very flabby. And just I don't know.
Gilbert's an animal right now, bro. Gilbert is peaking right now. He is an
He
animal.
is team captain of Kill Cliff. And I'll make this one short. Yeah, I might, sound stupid in retrospect, but I just don't think that Jorge has much of a chance in this fight to spend much time on it. I really don't. I don't see him stopping. Burns putting his back against the cage. Burns taking him down. I don't think that Jorge has the footwork to stay off the cage. I mean, he's gonna need to be able to circle to avoid those attacks, and I don't think he's gonna do it. So I think Burns is gonna pin him against the cage. He's gonna take him down. He's gonna grind him out, and I don't think he'll submit Masvidal. Masvidal, stays pretty conservative. Like once he's being controlled, he's not one to like recklessly get up or he's fairly good at, working his way, to one knee or getting back up to the cage. I don't think he's gonna be able to break that grip. I think it's gonna probably look like the second or the first Usman fight where Usman just holding him and pinning him against the cage. Um, and that's what Colby did to him. Couldn't stop it at all. Obviously, Colby has a lot more like reckless aggression where he could drive the fight to the fence. But I don't know, man. I think Masvidal is drawing extremely thin. I think this line is probably accurate. Honestly, only bet I'm interested in is possibly playing this one to go the distance, because I don't think the Burns submission. I mean, it's plus 230. I think it should probably be more like plus 300. So. Um, I'll just be looking to fade a finish here. I think that it'll just be a grappling grind fest for Burns. So that's enough about that one. Main event time, middleweight division, the rematch, the fourth fight between these two guys, Alex Pereira versus Israel Adesanya. The odds for this one, you have to scroll to a special part of Best Fight Odds to find it. Minus 135 for Israel Adesanya. Alex Pereira comes back at plus 115. So what did the line close at for the last fight? UFC 281, Bet Online. I think it closed at like minus 200, minus 228 for Israel Adesanya. Um, and I thought that price was pretty accurate, like, to how he looked, right? Round 1, competitive round. Actually, Alex Pereira was winning the round. I didn't remember this until I rewatched it, but Alex Pereira would have won that round if it weren't for Izzy tagging him at the bell. So we had one close round on the feet. Round 2, Alex Pereira miraculously recovered from being rocked, came back and, went on to outstrike Israel Adesanya in that round, hit his own takedown. Round 3, Alex Pereira attempted a really sloppy takedown, and then Israel actually turned that and got his own takedown. And Alex Pereira looked awful off of his back. I mean, he looked completely helpless. Obviously, Adesanya not known for his top game, but it didn't at any point for 3 minutes straight look like Alex Pereira was even close to standing up. Um, and then round 4, Alex Pereira looked completely, gassed. He barely threw a strike. Pereira outstruck him the entire round. And then all his coaches had to do was tell him to go for it, go knock him out. Pereira got a second win, charged Izzy, landed some punches and knocked him out. So that's my quick and short analysis of the fight. But just going back and rewatching it. So I was thinking about this fight in the same way I was thinking about Usman versus Edwards. And Usman, oh, he was up 3-0 or 3-1. He was one round away from winning a decision. And that's what Izzy was. He was 3 up, 3-1, one round away. And just going back and rewatching it though, that round 1 was so close, right? Up until that moment, with the punch at the end, it was Pereira's round. So it really could have been 2-2 going into round 5. And then all of a sudden, the round 5 knockout isn't that crazy. So I just think that when these guys are on the feet, which is the most likely way the fight is going to go, it's extremely even between the two of them. You have Alex Pereira landing the lead hand more, landing the jab, landing the left hook. You have Israel Adesanya landing the right hand more, using that 1-2, that long 1-2 of his, and landing the right hand. Both guys were exchanging leg kicks throughout the fight. Both guys landed their own takedowns. One area of the fight I think is really key, and not a lot of people pay attention to it, is the clinch. And we saw when Pereira would come forward, Izzy would clinch him up, and he would use that clinch as kind of like a safety net. But Israel Adesanya, for being a lifelong striker, he has very little offense from the clinch. He doesn't throw knees to the bodies. He doesn't throw many elbows at all. I was actually surprised at how ineffective Israel was from the clinch. So I think that Man, it's a tough fight, and I initially was thinking Israel Adesanya. I was thinking that this price seems pretty good, -135. But rewatching the fight, thinking about how they've all gone, thinking about the mental barrier for this one for Izzy, right? The guy is technically 0-3 against him. He's been knocked out 2 times. His what I was thinking is in kickboxing, he had the 2 losses, but then he had a fresh start. Israel had so much more MMA experience. He was the UFC champion. He had been in so many 5-round fights. He had all these advantages over Pereira. He was up 3-1. He had all this stuff going for him, and he still couldn't get it done. At a certain point, there has to be like a mental hurdle that Israel is at. I mean, and I don't know, man. I don't know if he can truly get past it. I think, it's possible that Alex just has his number. So initially, I was thinking it was gonna be Izzy. Just like a couple weeks ago, I was thinking, "Oh, it's gonna be Usman again," but I'm not gonna make the same mistake. I'm not gonna touch this fight. I'm gonna hope for a fun fight, gonna hope for a competitive fight. But I got a nasty feeling Alex is gonna somehow pull this one off, which is not at all
Wow.
what I was thinking. Not what all at all what I was thinking going into this fight, but really thinking about it and rewatching the fight, I think Alex will win.
Wow. Stephen A. against your boy Israel Adesanya so heavily, Stephen A. I didn't expect that from you.
I don't get it.
Um,
I don't get the Stephen A. Smith. What about it?
I'm just saying, like, yeah, you're going to, talk morning talk show radio, like, yo, like the mentality,
Yeah, yeah, that's right, that's
mental
right.
hurdle. How much you want it? Legacy. How can you overcome? This is gonna be a Netflix episode, right? We're leaning into that. Make sure the cameras are on you the whole training camp, Izzy. Um, so yeah, I've been thinking about this fight, and as well, watching it again. The thing that impressed me the most, or what I was considering, was how often that fight was in that range where Izzy was just standing in front of Alex, kind of like back against the fence, kind of like twinkle toeing, left or right, and Pereira's trying to like hit him, and this dude's just dodging him, being snake like and all that. Other good exchanges. Obviously, touched on the clinch stuff where Alex, I think with his height, it honestly like his hips were at this like motherfucker's like rib cage. So it's kind of I think hard to throw knees at him. He's kind of like on stilts. Like if you saw his sister that fought MMA as well, um, she's got that same body type as well. It's like they're on stilts and then their hips are like, crazy high. I don't know, weird body. But yeah, he would take the opportunity to land little strikes in there to wear down Izzy and using that size that he has. But I do think that his ground game is a super big issue here. I can see is Izzy eventually needs to get a submission. This would be the time to do it, dude. Like, who else are you gonna fight? They're gonna have this kind of grappling advantage over nobody. So get a submission, dude. This is what I did when I fought. Like, come on, submit these guys. But anyway, um, yeah, I just think that has a real hard time given that he can't control the range against Alex, given that Alex is the same height as him, basically the same reach, and that circle and the way that Izzy likes to uh, bring his range out. He likes to circle, off and kind of keep you at a super long distance. It doesn't really work with Alex because Alex is always pressing forward. He's always winding up that big left hook and cutting off the cage really well. So I too am going to be on. I think Alex Pereira here. What I first did was I picked up some Izzy submission because I just think that if he hits the submission and I don't have it, given that I bet it like I think I bet it against Vittori and somebody else. I don't know, maybe like 2 or 3 times. So I'm like, fuck it, I got to do it again. So I'm gonna bet some. I bet that, and I'm trying to see what's from now to the fight. When's gonna be the best price to get on Pereira? But I think I'm gonna have a small position on him. I think that he's gonna be able to connect clean. Uh, as simple as that. And then if it does go to the ground, I hope that Izzy chokes his ass out.
What do you think, like, do you expect any, like, changes from either guy here in this fight? Like, any
I
changes
feel
to the
like,
strategy?
yeah, I mean, I think that Alex is gonna throw even more leg kicks than he did last time. Because he clearly hurt him, bad with the leg kicks. So I think he's gonna, look to throw more of those. And then no, and then everything else for him, I think, is gonna be pretty similar. Maybe in the clinch, even double down, like even look to throw more strikes. Like don't look to do no fucking takedowns or no, you know, engage in grappling. You know, so that's about it.
Yeah, I think
And
if
Izzy,
Izzy wants to win,
I do think Izzy will look to get a takedown. So
yeah. I think Izzy needs to throw less leg kicks, try to land more right hands. I mean, when he landed the right hand, it seemed to hurt his to Pereira. And then yeah, I mean, he got to the body lock a lot of times. I mean, if he could turn those into trips, to get
that's
two
the thing.
takedowns here.
That's the thing that I'm saying. Like when I'm thinking about Izzy going for bro, can Izzy really like do like a double leg takedown against the fence on this guy? Like that shit ain't fucking happening.
No, he
So
did. He failed one. He went for one in round one
yeah,
and failed
I
it.
don't think it's gonna happen, dude. So it's gonna be tough to take Pereira down
It took
for
it took
him.
Alex it took Alex getting out of position, to wow,
I mean, Alex took him down super easy.
on DraftKings, they have Israel 1 takedown minus 210. That seems fucking high, man. That's
Yeah, I wouldn't bet that.
67% he gets, or 68% he gets 1 takedown. Fuck that. Um,
Yeah, I don't know
all
about
right,
that.
that's enough about that one. Miami this weekend should be a good card. I think they structured the main card pretty well. I mean, Rosas, 18 years old, kicking it off. Holland, that should be fun. Font-Yanez should be good. I think Burns-Masvidal might kill the whole momentum, though. It might just be a total snooze fest.
We might get Burns. We might get Burns, Santiago, and Holland, Masvidal. So
Yeah, and then what if Israel wins? Are they going to do that fight again? Are they just like that would be fucking horrible if they just keep. I
I
mean, the
don't know.
UFC has so many rematches, man. They need to get some original fights. But all right, that's enough about that one. Tread lightly on the underdogs this weekend. Pay-per-views, we've been getting fucked with underdogs. Um, Actually, I don't know if that's true, but who knows? All right, we'll see you all next week. Thanks for listening. Hope you all win some bets. See you all before the next UFC card. Peace out, everyone.